Hello students, today we are going to see the lecture number 6. Last class we were discussing on agronomic requirements in management of cropping system, in which we have seen first 3 requirements. Today we are going to see the remaining 4 major requirements to manage cropping system, in which the first 3 we already have seen, and the fourth one is water requirement and irrigation scheduling to manage cropping system. In cropping system, water requirement and irrigation scheduling is very important, because if you go for single crop, water requirement will be varied when we compare with the intercrop, because in intercrop we are raising 2 or more crops. When we are going for more number of crops, automatically the requirement of water will be high. When we go for single crop, the requirement will be less compared to the intercrop. So here water requirement and irrigation scheduling, another one. Irrigation scheduling here, for example, if we go for only single crop will have particular critical stages we call. Whenever crop requires at particular time, like for example, let us say vegetative stage or flowering stage, in that particular stage crop requires much amount of water. That stage we call critical stage. So in single crop, whenever critical stages are happening, so at that particular time directly we can give the irrigation. But when it comes to the intercrop, irrigation scheduling is very important. The reason, the intercrop and the main crop should not have the same time of critical stage. If they are asking same time of critical stage, that means here 30 days the critical stage for the main crop, and intercrop also is having the critical stage on 30th day. Both are facing same time the critical stage for water. At the time how much amount of water we may give, they will be still competing with one another. That's the reason we need to be very careful. Critical stages for irrigation should not overlap with the main crop and intercrop. And here first let us see in the water requirement. Here first, the number of plants per unit area. If you go for only one crop, the water requirement for the unit area for one crop is less when we compare to the intercrop. Then another one is, when we go for intercrop, simply we cannot go because the soil is very good and these crops will come very well in the particular soil. So let us go for intercrop by having any leguminous crop with the main crop. But here another thing we have to see is water availability. Water availability, if we have enough water, we can go for whatever the crops which are opted for that particular climatic conditions and soil conditions. But if water availability is very less, at that particular time we cannot go for whatever the crops we want. For example, I am having only 500 mm of water, but my crop I am choosing rice crop, but rice requires 1200 mm to 1500 mm of water. So when we go for rice crop, the water availability is very less, so we cannot choose rice crop. Instead of that, we can go for any pulse crop. Likewise, we need to be very careful while looking into the crops. Then intercropping. In here, when we look at the intercropping towards the water requirement and irrigation scheduling, here one important point you have to remember is, even it is important for ICAR examination. For example, if I am applying some amount of water and to the plant has uptaken 100 mm of water or 100 liters of water, out of which 99 liters of water will be lost through transpiration. Only 1 liter of water will be utilized by the plant for its metabolic activities. So we need to be very careful. So how much amount of water we are giving, same quantity of water will not be retained by the plant. Only 1% of the water only retained by the plant. The remaining 99% of water which uptaken by the plant will be lost through transpiration. So that is very important blank. So here, when we go for monocrop, a single cropping, whatever the amount we are applying, amount of water we are applying into the field, so entire amount of water will not be uptaken by the plant. Some water will be lost through percolation, some water will be lost through seepage, some amount of water will be lost through evaporation. Likewise, we will be losing the water. The more the land area exposed to the sun, the more amount of water will be lost through evaporation. So here, when we go for intercropping, in between the main crop, in between these rows, we are raising the intercrop. Instead of losing the water through evaporation by exposing the land to sunlight, we are using that land effectively for the intercrop. When we raise the intercrop, between the main crop, the same intercrop will utilize the water which is in the soil for its growth and development instead of same amount of water lost through evaporation. That is the benefit. So water use efficiency will be very high. So water requirement is different from water use efficiency. Crop may require, see for example, if we give some 1500 mm of water to the crop, out of which crop may utilize some 700 mm of water. Let us imagine that 700 mm of water is the water use efficiency. The remaining amount of water is necessary to give the irrigation to the field for other losses also. So that's called water requirement. Then another one is critical periods in the intercropping. So whenever you are giving, for every crop, particular stage will be there where crop requires high amount of water. For example, let us take wheat. Wheat requires high amount of water on 21st day, that we call crown root initiation. Even for rice also, when tillering stage or panicle emergence or flag or booting stage. Likewise, certain stages are there where crop requires high amount of water. So when we go for intercropping, main crop and intercrop should not have same time of critical stages. So if they have, the main crop will have the 30th days, let us imagine main crop is having 30th day the critical stage, and intercrop also facing the 30th day critical stage for irrigation. So both the crops are facing 30th day the critical stage for irrigation. So when we give the irrigation on 30th day, both the crops will be competing one another for the water. That's where competition will happen and we cannot get higher yield. So irrigation scheduling is very important. See that when you are raising the crop, you should have the entire duration of the crop, the plan, pre-plan you should have. Accordingly, you have to go for the time of sowing the intercrop as well as main crop, so that both the crops will not overlap the critical stages for irrigation. Accordingly, we have to plan and go for planting or sowing the main crop and intercropping. Now let us see the next one. Fifth one, soil fertility management and soil health care. Here, how much amount of fertilizer we have to apply and how to maintain the soil health. These two things plays important role, in which we are having around some 6 requirements how to approach the cropping system to get higher yield. The first one is nutrient requirement of cropping system. So every cropping system will have their own nutrient requirement based on the crops. So here first one is light and water. See, when these two component crop as well as the main crop, when these two crops are getting enough sunlight as well as enough water when we provide, when these two resources are sufficient, then automatically crop demand high amount of nutrients. So there we have to go for high amount of fertilizer application. Then another one is, whenever we are applying the fertilizers, in what method of fertilizer you are taking. For example, you are going for foliar application or band placement or just broadcasting something, spreading in between the rows. So or placing nearby the root zone, that means reduced zone. So likewise we are having different types of method of application of fertilizers. So we have to take the right method of application so that we will use whatever the fertilizers we are applying into the crop will utilize those fertilizers effectively. Then another one is, when we go for relay cropping, already in the last class I said the meaning of relay cropping. When we go for relay cropping as well as sequential cropping, so first we are raising the one crop and followed by, then in the next season we are raising another crop. So after we harvest the first crop, we will be leaving the, for example rice, we are leaving the stover or hum or the leftover, the previous crop stubbles in the field will be decayed in the soil or decomposed in the soil, and they will become manure into the succeeding crop. So likewise the previous crop will indirectly help the second crop by providing some nutrients. So in such a way we can reduce some nutrient application artificially. Then another one is, see, to know these all, whether we are applying right amount of nutrients or not, even crop is able to take the right amount of nutrient or not, for which we are having one method called nutrient balance sheet. The method called nutrient balance sheet, in which we can know whether it is in negative way or positive way. This is very important. Then the next one is pattern of nutrient uptake. So In what way nutrients are uptaken by the crop? So when we look at the nutrient uptaken, whether are we giving the nutrients as foliar application, or are we applying the nutrients through drip irrigation, or directly nearby the root zone, or along with the irrigation water. Likewise, we are having different methods. Based on the method, it will be varied. Why we have to give very much importance to the method of application? So when you are raising main crop along with the intercrop, some crops, for example, let us say some crops require nitrogen in the form of urea, and some few crops may require nitrogen in the form of ammonia, I mean DAP. So we need to be very careful while we are choosing the crop. Whatever the nutrition fertilizer we apply, both the crops should able to uptake the same fertilizer. Likewise, we have to choose and we need to apply the nutrients. So if you are unable to have these all, and if you are getting late and all, then you can go for forage application. Forage application is the one which will give the immediate result to the crop for whatever the fertilizer, whatever the crop it may be. Nitrogen especially, it will give an immediate response. Then the next one is response to nutrient application. So whatever the nutrients you are applying to the crop, maybe nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium. So these are the major nutrients, and other micronutrients also. So whatever the nutrient you are applying into the field, are they giving immediate response? When you look at the crop, for example nitrogen, when you apply the nitrogen into the crop, immediately it will give the response. Within 3 days you can see the change in the crop. So how are they giving the response? So when already I said, when you have the crop residue in the field, the previous crop residue in the field, slowly it will get decomposed and it will become nutrient to the crop. So likewise, they are responding to the previous crop residue also, and they are uptaking the nutrients which are left in that crop stubbles, and they are able to take. That is also one of the response, how they are reacting into the previous crop. And also the fertilizers whatever we are applying, how are they reacting? Are they reacting immediately, or are they taking time? And of the fertilizer, how much quantity we are applying, the same amount of quantity is plant is able to uptake, us some amount of some quantity of fertilizer is lost. That we have to look into and take the proper decision. Then the next one is legume effect. Already I have explained legume effect in the previous lecture. You know that the pulse crop will fix the atmospheric nitrogen into the soil. The fixed nitrogen in the soil will be uptaken by the main crop. So likewise, it will help the main crop. So when we have this legume effect in the soil for the next crop also, or the same crop or the next crop, next season, after we harvest the first season crop, when we go for next season, we may not go for legume crop, for some other crop we may go. So at that time you can reduce application of nitrogen up to 25%. That is also very important blank. We can reduce up to 25%. And another blank is there, important blank is per hectare legume crop can fix up to 40 kg nitrogen per year. That is important question. So legume effect can fix. And another benefit out of leguminous crops is the insoluble phosphorus will be turned into the soluble phosphorus, I mean in available form of phosphorus this leguminous crop can do. So not only on the nitrogen and also on the phosphorus also it is doing the work. That's why we are calling legume effect. Then the next one is soil contribution. Why soil contribution plays a role? So in soil contribution, whatever the fertilizers we are applying or the water we are giving and any other things, microbes, soil microbes, earthworms, all are in the soil, and plant also anchoring into the soil by the help of roots. So soil is the major one. How soil is able to contribute the crop? Not only all these. So for example, we are applying the fertilizer. The applied fertilizer, if it doesn't stay in the upper layer of the soil, instead of that, let us imagine that the entire quantity of fertilizer is going into the deeper layers of the soil. So though we may apply, roots cannot uptake the nutrients which we applied into the soil, because this fertilizer has gone to the inner depth of the soil. That's the reason soil contribution is very much important. Whatever the fertilizers or irrigation, whatever we give, everything should be in the topmost layer of the soil. I mean around the total root zone depth, so that plant can easily and effectively can be uptaken. Then the last one is rates of fertilizer application. You all know the how much quantity of nitrogen or phosphorus or potassium to be given to the different crops. That's what we do, fertilizer calculation. Based on the crop requirement, we have to calculate the fertilizer requirement, and accordingly we have to apply. We should not apply how much quantity of fertilizer we have in our hand. We should not apply excess, as well as we should not apply less. The reason is the proper quantity when we give to the crop in the proper time, then only we can get the maximum yield. So time of application as well as method of application and right quantity of application, these three things plays major role in the matter of fertilizer application. So we have to calculate in prior, and accordingly we have to get ready with the fertilizer application. So these are the things we have to look in when we look at the soil fertility management and soil health care. So soil health care means here we have to go for organic and inorganic. We need to go in balanced way. So soil health may not affect, because in soil microbes will be there, earthworms will be there. When we go for complete inorganic farming, these chemicals may affect microbes as well as earthworms. That's why when we dig out the soil nowadays, we don't find earthworms in the topmost layer of the soil. We have to go in deep, and when we dig, so we may find some earthworms. That is the reason. So we need to maintain the soil health also. So this is all about the fifth lecture. Now let us see the sixth agronomic requirement to manage the cropping system, in which it's all about crop protection against pests, diseases and weeds. So here let us divide into two, weed management one and pest and disease management. Hope you all know the meaning of crop protection. Protection means protecting the crop from pests, diseases and weeds, and another term is the crop production. To get the higher yield, how to manage the crop in proper way, that's called crop production. So before we get into weed management and pest and disease management, I would like to say why we have to give much importance to the intercropping and whatever it may, sequential cropping or monocropping or sole crop, in which when we go for weed management practices, for example, let us take maize crop. In maize crop, the most predominantly used herbicide is atrazine. The trade name of atrazine is Atrataf. So for like 1.2 kg, the dosage will be active ingredient. So when we apply in the main crop, the weeds will be get affected by that particular herbicide called atrazine and will be killed. But when we go to the intercrop, that means in between the maize crop, 2 rows, we are raising the another crop, that's called intercrop. So when we go for intercrop, the same atrazine herbicide can't be applied in the maize field, because in the maize field intercrop will be there. So the weeds which are present in the main field, so I mean maize field along with the intercrop, those weeds will be get killed when we apply the atrazine. But along with these weeds, the crop which we raised as the intercrop, that intercrop also may get affected because of that atrazine herbicide. So when we go for intercropping, we need to be very careful, because we are applying the atrazine in the maize crop. When we raised it as single crop, the same herbicide we cannot use when we raise the crop as an intercrop. So these all are very important. So accordingly we have to choose the herbicide. So if you are not having any herbicide, let us think, if we don't have any herbicide, then we have to shift into some other practices. We are having 4 types of weed management practices. The first one is chemical method, biological method, cultural method and mechanical method. These are the 4 methods we are having in weed management. I am repeating: chemical method, biological method, cultural method and mechanical method. So whatever the method is suited for to control the weeds, accordingly we will go for. So in which weed shift is there? Weed shift means when we go for intercropping along with the particular crop, those weeds also may come into our field, and along with the main crop, these weeds also may come along with them. To control them, it will be little difficult. So we need to be very careful that weed flora may not come from one place to the other place along with the intercropped seeds. Then the another one is suitable method of weed control. Already just now I explained. So you need to be very careful what kind of method you are opting to control the weeds in the field. Then If you go for main crop alone and in between we are not going for intercrop, so let us imagine only maize crop because it is the broad and some broad spaced crop, so I am taking the maize crop as an example. So in between the main crop we are having certain some 60 centimeters distance for the hybrid and for the variety 45 centimeters is the spacing for maize crop in between the rows. So in this 45 centimeters space, if you don't grow any crop, what will come automatically? Weeds will come. So when weeds come, we cannot control unless otherwise we have to go for any method of weed control. So instead of that, if you go for any intercrop, this intercrop will suppress the weeds by dominating themselves are coming early than the weeds, and because of the intercrop shade effect these weeds may not or they may not come. That effect is called smothering, SMOTHER, smoother effect. So when intercrop suppress the weeds in the main field, that we call smoother effect. So the next one is residual effect. For example, let us take atrazine only. Whatever the herbicide we are applying in the intercrop or sole crop or sequential crop, see that herbicide should not be remain in the soil as such. See, some herbicides are there, after we apply that particular herbicide will kill the weeds. After weeds kill, that residual effect of that particular herbicide, I mean herbicide molecules will be remain in the weeds, and when that particular weed get decomposed in the soil, weed may decompose, but the chemical molecule, the herbicide molecule which is present in the weed will be remain in the soil as such. Not only that, when we apply as a pre-emergence herbicide, we will be applying the herbicide as pre-emergence herbicide means we will be applying on the surface of the soil. So that herbicide will be remain in the soil for longer time. So in that particular time of the crop, I mean whatever the herbicide you are applying to that particular crop, during that season it will be fine, crop can come. But when we go for next season, we will be raising another crop. When we raise the another crop, this herbicide residual or molecules will be remain in the soil. Those molecules may affect the next season crop. So we need to be very careful that herbicide residual should not be in the field for a long time. They should either get evaporated or they should be decomposed in the soil itself. So we need to be very careful. Whatever the herbicide we are applying, that herbicide should not be remain in the soil or in the plant for a long time. That is very, very important. So next one is pest and disease management. So pest and disease management, when we think about it, see, some plants will act as a host plant for the main crop. That means, for example, I am raising some particular crop in the Kharif season, then followed by in the next season I may grow another crop in the Rabi season. So in the first season, particular pest got affected into the crop. So after we harvest the particular crop, the same pest may choose the another plant as a host to sustain their life for the next season. So we need to be very careful while choosing the crop. The first season, whatever the pests which are affecting in the first season crop, the same pests should not affect the next season crop, so that we can control the pest there itself, because of the hunger, because of the thirst, and they cannot sustain when we don't provide the food, and ultimately they will be disappear. Otherwise, what will happen when you grow the next season crop, the same crop may help the first season crop pest and it may again develop and it will much more cause damage to the crop. That is very important, in which we are having two types, physical management and biological management. In physical management, shading, barrier for movement, temperature, humidity and wind speed. So these all if we maintain in proper way, automatically we can control pests and diseases in the field. Shading means, see, some insects require sunlight, some insects may not require sunlight. So the insects which require sunlight, if we keep the crop under some shade, like if we raise the main crop and intercrop, main crop will be some tall growing crop something, and intercrop will be short growing, close growing crop to the ground. So this tall growing crop will give shade effect to the intercrop. Because of the shade effect, this particular pest will not come. That is one of the method to control the pest and disease. Then barrier for movement. See, from one place to the other place, when insects are going, we should create some barrier like trap crop. Trap crop means all the four sides of the crop, all the bunds. On the bund you have to raise the trap crop. The examples for trap crop, this is important blank again. The examples for trap crop: castor, even marigold we raise. So these are the two main, even red gram also we grow. So these are the three crops are very useful to raise as a trap crop. So we have to raise a trap crop so that before they enter into the main field, in the bunds itself we are raising these crops. So insect will affect on the trap crop so that we can protect our main crop in the main field. Then the next one is temperature, humidity and wind speed. Based on the temperature, if you have very high temperature, insects may not multiply themselves. And relate to humidity also, when water vapor is very high in the wind, I mean the air, insects cannot multiply. And also the last one is wind speed. Wind speed means not the wind which is coming and going in the main climate or the weather, but within the crop canopy, how wind is going. With the high speed, if wind is blowing inside the crop canopy, the insects which are in the field, they will not try to expose themselves into the weather, so that in such a way we can bring down the incidence of the pest into the crop. In the during daytime they will not feed on the crop because of high temperature. Likewise we can reduce, and by adopting all these we have to look into the biological method. So here we are going for repellent chemicals and order. See, when we go for chemicals, when we apply particular chemical for the particular pest, immediately that pest will infect on the particular insect and it will kill. But see that whatever the pesticides we are applying, I mean insecticides you are applying into the field, those insecticides should not cause any harm to the beneficial insects. That is very, very important thing that we have to remember. And order, by providing some order in the field, we can avoid the insects coming into the field, and also we can keep light trap or delta trap, whatever the traps which are suitable for that particular insect. Accordingly we can go for keeping the trap in the field. So these are the two management practices that comes under crop protection. So this is all about when we grow the crop in monocropping or sequential cropping or sole crop. Here when we go for integrated approach, that means we are integrating two crops or three crops or multi-crop. So at the time how to choose the crops, that is the thing which is very important. The first one is choice of resistant varieties. Whenever we go for crops, all the crops, the main crop, intercrop, in intercrop we may raise 2 or 3 crops or 1 crop. Whatever the crops you are choosing, those crops should have the resistant power to overcome pest incidents as well as disease incidents also. Then the next one is diversity of crop in sequence. So in sequential cropping, that means after one crop after the other crop, we need to be very careful. Whatever the crop we are raising in the first season, followed by the next season, whatever the crop we are choosing, that crop should not have the same incident or pest disease and pest incident should not be to the next crop. Accordingly we have to choose the crop so that we can arrest the pest and disease multiplication with the first season itself. Otherwise what will happen, it will get spread into the next season of the crop. Then the same pest in intercrop. Here the this is very, very important. In intercrop some pests will be there which can affect the main crop as well as the intercrop. So what will happen, they will not have any competition, because in the field the foliage is very much is there, so that insects can feed on the crop like anything, because main crop is there as well as intercrop. Both the crop is suitable for that particular insect, so they can feed on the, so immediately there are the chances are there to multiply themselves in the field, and they can attack much more to the field. So we have to be very careful. Whatever the crops we are choosing, the pests which are causing incident to the main crop, same pest should not cause any incident to the intercrop. So then cultural methods. Cultural methods means by involving into the human being, we need to control the insects, because some pesticides will be there where they cannot kill some particular insect maybe. So accordingly we have to choose the method and we have to adopt. So cultural methods also plays major role. Then optimum time of sowing. Why we have to give importance to the optimum time of sowing means, some insects are there, seasonal insects will be there. Seasonal insects means they will come in that particular season and they will disappear again. So when we go for optimum time of sowing, so that we can escape, we can mitigate from that to avoid the particular incidents of that particular pest. So before that pest appears in the field, we better go for optimum time of sowing and optimum time of doing all the methods and harvesting also, so that by the time pest enter into our field, we can finish off the life cycle of the crop. Not only optimum time of sowing, we can go for short duration varieties also. Then selective pesticide. Here when we go for pesticide application, that means insecticide application to kill, we have to go in judicial manner. Judicial manner means whatever the pesticide they suggested to apply for that particular insect, same pesticide we have to apply. And another one, the quantity of pesticide that we are applying, the rate of application, that is very much important, because when the more we apply the pesticide into the soil or to the crop to kill the insects, the more we are causing pollution to the environment and also to the soil. So we need to be very clear how much amount of pesticide they require, the quantity, the same quantity only we have to apply. We should not apply more than that or less than that. So farmers nowadays, what are they doing? Because insects are not dying, so just some farmers are there, they apply much quantity than what they suggest. So in unknowingly they are polluting the soil as well as they are polluting the climate, and the insects also dying. The reason is not the targeted insect, along with that the beneficial insects also dying. So we need to be very careful when we go for selective pesticides. This is all about the crop protection against pests, diseases and weeds. Last one is labor management to spread peak season labor demand and reduce cost of labor. So here it's all about the labor. See, when we look at let us imagine one village, and entire village has gone, the farmers in that particular village has gone for particular crop, and the time of sowing and time of doing all the tillage operations and whatever the operations they are doing, all are similar, the same time they are doing. So what will happen? All the farmers requires the same time of sowing and the same time of irrigation of application and fertilizer application, pesticide application and time of harvesting. All the particular method, whatever the management practices they are doing in the field, everything, entire village requires at a time. So what will happen? The labor demand will be very high at the time of sowing. Particular, let us say today is the time of sowing. So only today they need more number of labor, because entire village is going for same time of sowing. But after 2 days, what will happen? Today and tomorrow, let us imagine sowing time. Then day after tomorrow, what will happen? There won't be any work for entire village, no work for the farmer. So all the laborers will be staying at home. So to avoid all this, what will happen? At a time, if you call the labor, because of the demand, the particular labor may demand you to give high wages. The reason is, if you don't give, I'll go to the other farmer, they may say. So to balance all this, we need to be very careful to split the dates. So today one farmer, if he is going for date of sowings, tomorrow another farmer, day after tomorrow another farmer. Likewise, we better split, or let them go for different types of crops. So every crop will not have the same time of sowing. Based on the crop, it will be varied time of sowing. Accordingly, if we go, then we will no need to give high amount of labor wages. And also, when we go for splitting off giving the employment to the labor, then the cost will be similar, and daily basis or every day labor will be getting the employment. Otherwise, what will happen? 2 days they will be coming for the job, and another 2-3 days they will not have any job. So they are the one who are the losers. The first particular days they are demanding high amount, and the remaining days they don't have any employment. But other hand, whenever farmer requires the work or is in need of work, that particular time he will be calling the labor, and they are taking extra money because of the demand. Here farmer is the loser. Instead of that, if we split the works, or if we go for different types of crops, then work will be every day. So labor will not have any lack of employment, he will be having everyday employment, and also farmer also no need to give much wages to the labor. So likewise, we can reduce the labor demand and also cost of the labor. This is also very much important in cropping system. So these are the 7 major requirements to manage the cropping system. If you have any doubt from 5th lecture and 6th lecture, you can post in the comment section what are the doubts. I'll clarify in the Google class or any other platform.